when we first started there, and so some of the blue stripe ones were people's normal pew, and they come in and go, where do I go? Luckily, mine's still there, but I've been taking up the back pew just cause. Uh, well, howdy. Good to see you all. I reckon we've got wild children in the back. That's good. Uh, Tonight's going to be basically a history lesson followed by a sermonette. I don't know how long it'll go. I'll try not to keep you past 8, 9 o'clock. Uh, Announcements. Bobby is in the house. That's the announcement. Uh, see what else we got. Prayer chain for life here on the 4th at 2 o'clock out in front of the Maryville First Baptist. We usually stand along that brick wall that's just towards the city of Maryville from the Larry Nancy knows. Some of y'all may not know. I don't know if you've stood with us yet. It's fun though. I tell you what, that'll work on your prayer life. If you can pray for an hour with all the traffic going by, you're doing real well. I do real good until I hear Harley go by, and then it's like, whoo, pretty. Any other announcements? Bobby, Tammy, you know anything we got coming up? Golden State Mission Office. Give till you can't give no more. That stays here in Tennessee. I like it when money that we give stays here in Tennessee. There are lost people out there in the world, but there's a whole lot of lost people here in Tennessee. Prayer requests. Yeah, waiting on you, Miss Sue. You got to pray. Now let's hear it.
Oh my. Kelly had to be tested for COVID on Monday.
Oh no.
I got that call today, negative.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, that's good to hear.
Just because you have all the symptoms, including the fever, does not mean that you have COVID. So
Audrey has to fill out a question. Used to, she'd go to church and they'd check her temperature and she'd fill out a piece of paper. Well, this morning, now they have to do it online before they go into work, and they'll get an email saying it's okay. Well, I filled it out for her this morning. I was sitting in front of the computer anyways, and I must have answered yes to one question that I shouldn't have. So she gets the email, and there's a big red X on there, and she's going, oh, no. So I went and filled it out again. She got a green check. The bad part was I did it like at 6 o'clock this morning, and all the supervisors get a text every time somebody gets a red X. So they were not happy with me. Some of them were asleep at 6 o'clock this morning. Shame on them. Well, that's good to hear, though. I'm glad Kelly Grace doesn't have the COVID. I'd kind of like to keep our church free of the COVID, just because.
Praise, Mary McCain came home this evening.
Good. That is good. Yeah, I kind of miss my little prayer warrior sitting right here. Is it still because of her meds, or do we care? Do we even want to talk about that?
So, well, her blood pressure was 70 over 40 when she
Right.
went by ambulance.
Oh, okay.
Her blood pressure.
Yeah,
and her
she said
sodium,
it was tanking because of her
Her
sodium.
sodium was real low too, so they gave her fluids and got her sodium back up. It's not where it needs to be yet.
Yeah. She go eat at a Mexican restaurant. That'll raise that sodium level up a bunch.
Except she don't hardly salt anything.
Potato chips.
Yeah, bag of potato chips.
But no, I have the same problem, and that is no fun, let me tell you.
Nah.
They make you eat salt tablets.
Ooh.
Oh, that's awful. I don't like salt to begin with, and then when you give me salt tablets, so I know what she's been.
Yeah, she said she was dragging because of it.
Yes, I would like for us to remember a church in South Georgia where my daughter and her family attended for 30-some years. They've had multiple cases of COVID, but they haven't been smart. And my daughter said she thought they were smarter than that, but evidently they're not. And they continued doing everything like they always had, plus on Sunday evening or Wednesday evening, they would go out to eat with everybody. And one of my daughter's really good friends, a woman she really respected, got it, and she died a couple of weeks ago. Their pastor, who had esophageal cancer, also got it, and he died. They had 2 funerals last Friday,
Oh,
and my daughter was there for them. She said, Mother, it was awful, just awful. And she said, I wanted to get up and lecture them about being smart,
mm-hmm.
but they need our prayers anyway.
Yeah.
Even though they're dumb, they need our prayers. Because it's, well, when your pastor, even though he was sick before, dies like that, it really
That'll hurt a church.
upset
That's
make a
painful.
church have problems.
We'll keep them in our prayers. Anybody else?
Is feeling better.
Good.
Robbie, Blanche's grandson.
Okay.
And I lost her grandson this week, like past weekend. Pray for them. 14 years old. They really need our prayers.
That's hard. At least we got good news to go with the bad news. We all need prayer, though. Our churches, I mean, there is mass confusion. I mean, we all know what we should do, but then there's the rebel in all of us that says, you can't tell me I can't go to church and worship. You can worship, you can go to church, but you can do it safely. And I'm kind of proud of our church. I feel we're doing the right thing. And apparently the ones that are staying home are thinking the same thing because their tithing hadn't changed. It probably might have gone up a little bit. It's hard to tell. Larry, if you don't mind, would you lead us in prayer, sir?
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you for another beautiful day. Thank you for bringing us back to your house tonight, dear Lord. Have your services lead us and guide us and protect us. Be with Mike as he brings the message. Lord, I just want to tell you that we love you. And just thanks for all you've done for us. And we ask it all in our precious, sweet name. Amen.
Amen. Well, like Bobby, I was telling him, tonight's going to be a history lesson followed by a sermonette, so this will be kind of a little different, but fun. Well, I enjoy it. Like I said, we're going through biblical backgrounds right now in our class. We're about to finish it up. I think next Monday is our last class. We get our final quiz, and then hopefully we graduate. Of course, the very next class is, I'm having a blank, evangelism. And we haven't taken that class. It's one of the electives, so we're all going to hang around for another semester and take that class. But I'm going to read out of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 1 through 6. Then I'm going to be in Jeremiah, Leviticus, Genesis, Ezekiel, Joshua, Judges, so just kind of bear with me. I'm not going to make you all try to look everything up. Mainly I'm going to be talking about everything that, a lot of the things that during the time of Joshua, let me get my little pointer here. These are the 12 tribes of Israel. They came in, here's Jericho, right here at this little green dot. They crossed the Jordan probably somewhere in here, took Jericho, suffered a defeat at Ai right here, and then turned around and whooped them. We talked about that Sunday, why they lost at Ai. And then they kind of took a southerly approach and took this area. And then when they got it, they went north and took this area. And I'll get into that here in a little bit, and that's when they divided up what is now, well, what at that time was Israel. And this Judah here became the southern kingdom, Judah and Simeon, and then all the rest, the other 10 tribes up in here was the northern kingdom, which retained the name of Israel. All right, so let me read out Deuteronomy. And this is, again, I was talking about how they went in and they just completely, utterly wiped out Jericho. There was not a living soul left in there, and the same with Ai and a few other places. But in Deuteronomy 7, it says, this is Moses, I believe, speaking here. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. God sent them in there to whoop big countries. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following thee, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, break down their images, cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are on the face of the earth. So God's told them, you're going into Canaan, and you're going to whoop on all these people. You're going to wipe them out completely. Now there's some of the existing peoples in there, the indigenous people, the Canaanites. Those were the ones that the Lord was especially talking about here, the ones he wanted to get rid of. The Edomites, they were the offspring of Esau, Jacob's brother, and they left them alone. Even though they didn't treat them right, they left them alone. They didn't go and wipe them out. They didn't wipe out everybody. There were some of the surrounding peoples that they left alone, and that was kind of okay. But that's a pretty good chunk of ground right there. So, they go in and they fight. Why do you suppose they deserve? And this is, if you all have a question, like I said, this is more like a study than it is a sermon. If you have a question, throw up your hand, holler at me, throw a book at me. If at any point you want me to try to clear something up, if I can, I will. If not, I'll get back to you. So why did they deserve the death sentence? Was not everybody in this area a descendant of Noah who was a man of God? Of course, there was Ham. But in Jeremiah 7:31 it says, And they have built the high places of Tophet, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not, neither came it unto my heart. And later on in Jeremiah it says, They have built also the high places of Baal, to burn their sons with fire for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor spake it, neither came it to my mind. And this commandment that he's talking about comes out of Leviticus. It says, And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Now Molech was another name for Baal. And we all know, we've all heard the stories about Baal. Depends on who you're talking to as to how that gets pronounced. But Molech was, they would sacrifice their children to him. Like if there was a bad drought, there go the kids. And it was horrible. And they also had major problems with sexual immorality. It was bad. Everybody did what was right in their own mind. There was nothing that was so wrong that they wouldn't do it. So the Lord's judgment was coming. And it will come to us too eventually. Even Ezekiel wrote about it. It says in 16:20-21, it says, Moreover, thou hast taken thy sons and thy daughters, whom thou hast borne unto me, and these thou hast sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Thou hast slain my children and delivered them to cause to pass through the fire for them. And this is, I'm trying to remember when this was. This is during the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. This is after, this is later on. This is after they've conquered Israel. This is after they've conquered Canaan. They're down in here, and the Lord has passed judgment on the children of Israel. That's when the Babylonians came in. Nebuchadnezzar was, Assyrians. Nebuchadnezzar was an Assyrian vassal. They put him in charge of Judah after they came in, and, they took, Daniel and the three boys, they took him back to Babylon. And they left Nebuchadnezzar in charge. And he wasn't the only one. There were several kings during this time, around 700 BC, I believe it was, between 700 and 400 BC. I've got that in a note here somewhere. That there was still child sacrifice going on. So this they never did get rid of it. A lot of the people, when you study, will say, no, that was just, they exaggerated a little bit. It was just, to make the reason why it was okay for God to come in and wipe out all these nations, man, women, and child. It was okay because there was child sacrifice, but that never really happened. But if there's some Greek historians that say, yes, it did happen. They said it was happening in Carthage, and Carthage is where the Phoenicians came from. This is over on the northern tip of Africa, and the Phoenicians were a seafaring people, and they came over, and they settled in the area what's now Lebanon. And this sacrifice was going on at that time. So, one way to look at it, what God was trying to tell them is, if you have an operating room, you sterilize that sucker from one end to the other, right? That thing's clean. They try to get every bit of bacteria out of there. Because what happens if you don't get all the bacteria out and you open somebody up? Well, they're going to get an infection. They get MRSA, they get whatever. It's horrible. It could kill them. So you've got to get rid of all the bacteria. And that's what God was trying to do. He was using his children to get rid of all of this evilness that was in this area. He's told them, he said, clean it all out, every last one of them. Destroy them completely. And they tried. Man, when Joshua went in Jericho, and it says in Joshua 6:21, it says, and they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man, woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and ass, with the edge of the sword, except for Rahab. If you remember, Rahab helped the two spies, and she asked them to spare her because she knew who God was. She feared God, and they kept their promise. They spared Rahab and her family. Everybody else got killed. Ai was utterly destroyed. It says later on in chapter 8, and so it was that all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. For Joshua drew not his hand back, wherewith he stretched out the spear until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the cattle and the spoil of that city Israel took for prey unto themselves, according to the word of God. And Joshua burnt Ai. Now, people think that they went through and they just destroyed all these cities, but they really didn't. There were just maybe a small handful of the cities that they actually would burn to the ground. And there was a reason for this, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. Now, after Ai, the Gibeonites were real close neighbors. And there's some sneaky little fellas. They got wind of what had happened in Jericho, and they heard what happened in Ai, and they were very afraid. They thinking these Israelites are going to come in and kill us all. So they sent a delegation of ambassadors, and they put them on dusty old critters. They gave them old wine bags that were split and torn, and some dirty clothes, and some bread that was all moldy. And so that when they showed up to Joshua, it looked like they'd traveled from a long way off. It's kind of like it looked like they'd come from Tampa, Florida, when in fact they just came up from Greenback. That's how close they were. And they were telling Joshua, say, look, we've heard about you, and we'd like to make a deal with you. And and without doing any checking, without talking to God, they said, okay, hey, we'll let you slide, but you're going to become basically our slaves. You're going to fetch water and cut wood for us. So that's what happened to the Gibeonites. They became slaves to the Israelites. All right. Well, the Amorites heard about this, and they were not pleased. So they got 5 kings and their armies, and were going to come up against the Gibeonites. So the Gibeonites got a wind of this, and they told Joshua about this. And Joshua said, well, we ain't letting that happen. Y'all are ours now. So they go down, and there's a big battle, and they wipe out all the 5 kings' men. They actually captured the kings and killed them later on. This was the same day that the sun and the moon stood still. If you remember that out of Joshua. It's also the time that the Lord sent hail down, and the hailstorm killed more soldiers than the army of Joshua did. The Lord will help you when you listen to him. So anyhow, Joshua, let me read some of his conquests. Now, like I said, he come in here in the middle, and this area where they came in, this whole area right in here is just so important. One reason, you had there's an intercoastal highway back in those days that runs right down in through here. This area right here is very, 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 very fertile. So when he came in, basically he took control of this fertile area, this very in-demand area, and then carved a path south. Well, with this being cut off, the north couldn't come down after him, so after he took the southern part, he went back up north. If y'all remember when Abraham began his journey, he started out somewhere over here. Well, there's desert right in this area. So to get from here to here, he goes straight up north and then heads back south. This is the main travel route. God had a plan when he put these people right here. This was the main travel route between Africa and the rest of the Europe up in here. So there was a lot of trade going on right in through this area. So this area, and that's why it's been such a battle since way back when to now, is because of the commerce that travels through this area. So Joshua heads out, and it says, thus Joshua took all this land, the mountain country, all the south, all the land of Goshen, the lowland, and the Jordan plain, the mountains of Israel and its lowlands, then Mount Halak, and the ascent to Sierra, even as far as Baal Gad in the valley of Lebanon below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings, struck them down, and killed them. Joshua made war a long time with all these kings. There was not a city that made peace with the children of Israel, except the Hivites, the inhabitants of Gibeon. And that was the ones that they made a deal with. All the others they took in battle. For it was the Lord God to harden their hearts that they should come against Israel in battle, that he might utterly destroy them, and that they might receive no mercy. Remember, that's what he commanded back in Deuteronomy. But that he might destroy them as the Lord had commanded Moses. And then he goes up north and he takes all that area. So Joshua took the whole land according to all that God had said to Moses. Joshua gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their divisions by tribes. Then the land rested from war. Now, if you remember, right before they crossed into Jericho, Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben really liked this area right here. It was like I said, it's real fertile, and they had a lot of livestock, and they didn't feel like tramping around in through here. But because of Deuteronomy, and this is where that saying, be sure your sins will find you out. I don't know if I've got that verse. It's in, it's either the very end, I think it's at the end of Exodus. They were wanting to hang out here, and he says, well, that's fine, you can stay here, but your armies are coming with us. And whenever we get done whipping all these people, you can go back over here. And so when Joshua divided up all the tribes, Reuben and Gad got their chunk on the east side of the Jordan, which was not Israel. The tribe of Manasseh split in half. They took one side of Jordan, and the other half took over here. And then you've got Judah and Simeon took like I said, what turned into the southern kingdom. And then Benjamin, Dan, Ephraim, Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali, and Asher. Those are your 12 tribes. That's a lot of country. That's a lot of country to try to keep control of. And one thing, when they had divided up into these separate areas, they had not taken care of all the Canaanites. Now, each one of the tribes was responsible for the Canaanites that were left in their land. In Joshua 13 it says, and this is before they divided it up, but nevertheless the children of Israel expelled not the Jeshurites nor the Maccathites, but the Jeshurites and the Maccathites dwell among the Israelites until this day. But if you remember, I said they did not burn all the cities and towns. There was a reason for that. In Joshua 24, when he's fixing to retire and says, I'm done, I quit, here's my retirement speech. And he's speaking for God here, and it says, and I have given you a land for which you did not labor, cities which ye built not, and ye dwell in them, of the vineyards and olive yards which ye planted, nor do ye eat. So they basically came in, killed all the people, and moved into their houses, moved into their cities, kept their vineyards, kept their fields, kept their livestock. So after all this 400 years down in Egypt as slaves, and then 40 years wandering through the wilderness, now boom, here they are. They've got their own country. They've got their own cities that they didn't have to sweat to build. They're already there. They've moved into them. They've got all these crops that they didn't have to plant. So things are looking real good for them, right? Life is good. But God told them to get rid of all the Canaanites. Well, in Judges, it says, and the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites that inhabited Jerusalem, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem unto this day. And then later on in Judges it says, neither did Manasseh drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and her towns, nor Tanakh and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Ibleam and her towns, nor the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. Why? Why do you suppose it was like that? These people were tired. They spent, let's see, they crossed the Jordan in about 1405 BC, and in 1380 is about the time that Joshua died. The division of the tribes was in 1398, so between the time that they came across Jordan and then they divided all this up was 7 years. They had been fighting for 7 years. Hard battles. Sure, they had the Lord on their side, but there's nothing easy about war. And then when they divided up, they were still fighting. They were still driving people out, but they were just tired. They were tired of it. We're going, we're just going to live with these people. It's all right. They're not that bad. We kind of like this guy over here, man. We get along. And then after Joshua died, a generation later, here comes a generation of people that never knew Joshua. Never knew what God had done for them. Not they could hear it from words, but they never saw it. So there's all these Canaanites still in there. Remember what I said about the operating room? There's still bacteria in the operating room. There's still a sinful nation inside with the children of God, with the children of Israel. There's still prevalent sin in that area. And they pay for that. In Judges, an angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I made you to go up out of Egypt and have brought you into the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. And you shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Ye shall throw down their altars, but ye have not obeyed my voice. Why have ye done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of the Lord spake these words unto all the children of Israel, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. They realized that they hadn't done what God told them would do, and now it's turning around to bite them in the hind end. Now here comes the sermonette. You know, we were all saved. Yep, for sure in this room right here. We all took Christ as our Lord and Savior. We believe that he was born of a virgin. We believe that he died on the cross and 3 days later was born again. We believe that he's the Son of God. He's part of the Trinity. We took him into our heart. And that's all they said you had to do. If you believe on me, you'll be saved. Well, Luke goes on and tells you, say, I tell you, nay, but except you repent, you shall all likewise perish. So there's got to be some repentance in there, right? We become that new man that he's talking about. We get rid of the old us and we put on the new guy. We get rid of our sin in our lives, and when we realize that we have sinned, we get rid of it, and we beg forgiveness, and we try to do better. But you know, there might be a sin in our life that we don't think, it's not that big a deal, but it's still there, lest you repent. Or it may be a sin in our life that we've been battling for so long, like the children of Israel fighting against the Canaanites, that we just got tired of fighting and said, Lord, you know, I'm just going to have to live with this one. We're just going to have to make a deal. We're just going to have to live with it. You shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. Same thing with your sin. You just can't make peace with sin in your life. If you would do one thing tonight, when you go home, open up your Bible, read Psalms 139, 23 through 24. There may be a sin in your life that you don't know about. There may be a sin in your life that you've just gotten used to and said, well, I can't beat it, Lord. The psalmist says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting. That would be my prayer for you tonight. That's my prayer for me. That's going to be my prayer for me for the next week or two. It's like I say, there's sin in our lives we've had for so long that we don't even notice it anymore. We think it's okay. We don't need to be like the children of Israel. We don't need to become comfortable with the people that are going to turn us against God as it goes along. And that's exactly what happened to them. They got comfortable with these people. Next thing you know, they're worshiping Baal just with along with the Canaanites. And that's when the Lord sent judgment from the Assyrians and the Babylonians and scattered them all throughout the nations. We don't want to get scattered, folks. So get your book out tonight when you go home, Psalms 139, 23, and 24. Just read the whole chapter if you want to. Remember Psalms 139. It's towards the end. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the words that you've given us. I want to thank you for this Bible, Lord. I want to thank you that when I get into it, Lord, I get excited. I just love history. I love geography. And through this history and geography, I understand a whole lot more about what the children of Israel did and why what happened to them, Lord. And I can see these things repeating themselves through the years. I can see them in these days. You turn from God, you get punished. You turn back to God, you get blessed. Lord, it's an easy lesson, but why is it so hard for us to get it? Lord, I pray that we share this with other people. Sure, this was a hard time, a dark time in the biblical era. But Lord, it's necessary that we know this, because without knowledge of the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Lord, just go with us this week. Watch over us. And Lord, just when we ask you, Lord, point out that sin. Show us where we're lacking in our daily walk with you, Lord. Lord, because I know that as we cleanse the sin out of us, as we get all, the more we take out of us, the more room we have for you, Lord, and the more of you that I have in me, the more comfortable I am, the more happy I am. It's just a better life, Lord, when we have you. All these things, Lord, I ask in your Son Jesus' blessed and holy name, without whom we'd have no salvation. And amen. So, come back Sunday. I can't think of any announcement. Are they going to have kids' church again Sunday? Kids' church on Sunday. Yay. Bring a blanket. You can't go. Sorry. Darn it. Well, it's good to see y'all. Thank y'all for being here, putting up with me. I'm going to take my little green pointer and give it back to Chris.